Yo,
Ah,
hey, welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. Oh gosh, ow!
there's a
What are you doing to my eye, man? That's
sorry.
weird. That felt weird, dude.
I know, man. That's how it works, though. It's weird.
Yeah,
Embrace the awkward, man.
yeah,
This guy
yeah.
Ryan,
It's
he always told me.
awkward. It's like when you're laying down in bed and you start to cry, and you're on your side. So like you cry and like a tear goes out of one eye and into the other, and it's like, oh, you had water? I thought you needed water. Yeah, that's awkward.
Yep,
Um,
that is.
welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday, where we talk about shit, about tears. And I need to shave because my beard is getting really long.
Man, look at that
Um,
thing. I need to
I
too.
know.
I've got like,
Yeah.
I've got like,
What happened to you? You really let go.
I've let go of myself, man. Tell you what, it's
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy stuff.
There's a lot of.
A lot of facial hair
Anyways,
going on around
moving
here.
on.
Holy cow, man! Between
Yeah.
Ryan, Princess is not having the facial hair activity going on though,
Princess,
man. I tell
I
you
would
what, you
say you
gotta
need to
catch
get your
up.
act together. Like the amount of facial hair on your face is strictly limited to the eyebrows. I would say you might want to expand your horizon. You know, consider the chin as landscape for your hair. Just a thought, just a thought. But try, be careful, because there are definitely many landscaping techniques which would render you looking a little less feminine, and some guys might not like that.
Well, there is actually hair there. It's just very tiny and short and almost invisible because it's like very blonde. So I mean,
Yeah,
I could
yeah.
get like the world's tiniest comb so I could like comb it.
Ah, yeah,
That's about all the landscaping care I
Wait,
care for.
yeah. That sounds good. I'm jealous, actually. I wish I didn't have to shave. By that I mean I wish I didn't grow hair. Um, yeah, it
I
would be
know.
nice.
Me too, man. Believe me.
I know, I know. You put
Crazy.
more effort into it than I do, and I'm the one that complains about it. So I guess that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Welcome to Story Wednesday. Oh my gosh, it's great to have you guys here. Nice to see you, Penny. I haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing awesome. Jack the Diamond Gamer, nice. You as well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I hope you guys are all having a wonderful Wednesday. But if you're not, that's all right. You're here with us, and we're here to talk about the issues. You know, in this life, it's not always easy. There's going to be a lot of problems, and that's part of living life, part of the greatness of living life. But it's a lot greater when you have someone to walk through with you. So here on this show, we're here to try to dig into those sufferings, talk about them, give a little bit of perspective, open it up to the chat, and have their wisdom come through, and really just be a friend that can walk by your side through it. Because a lot of times, let's be honest, you kind of know what to do
Mm-hmm.
with your problem,
Mm-hmm.
but it takes a little bit of encouragement. And it also takes, like, I kind of know what to do, but I don't know the path, or there might be a better path. And so all we can do is try to give you our best. We aren't professional psychologists, psychiatrists, uh, anything really. We're not professionals about most things, but we are human beings, and we've had our fair share of problems, and we've learned a lot by them and through them, and I'm sure so have you. So if you ever get a chance to help someone out, please do. And if you ever are inspired to write something into the chat, please do. We appreciate those comments, and so do the people who are uh, struggling with whatever topic we are covering at that moment. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, if you want to submit a topic, just go to don'tworrywednesday.com. You can just go ahead and click the submit a topic button, and you'll be on your way. And yeah, if you want to be anonymous, then just be anonymous. But yeah, you can read what Princess said. I'll give you all the tips and things you need to know about doing that. So anyhow, here we are. Welcome.
Mm-hmm.
So great to be here. How you guys doing? How's the chat? How's the chat?
Chat
While you
looks
guys are
real good.
thinking.
I'll tell you what.
They do. There's just, oh man, look at the curve of that C in Caleb. Dang, that's good. I could
Mm.
just stare at that all day, man.
It might be celeb.
Oh, it probably is.
Celeb
It is, 'cause
lem.
it's not Caleb, it's Celeb. Yeah, celeb. Whatever. I don't even know how to read straight, and you looked pretty. So, I mean, that says a lot about you. That says a lot.
Man, oh man.
How you doing, Joe?
I'm fabtastic. How are you?
Oh, Elvish, nice. I'm doing great. I'm doing really great.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me, Elvish. I was like, I'm Elvish? But it's in the chat.
Right.
My bag.
Welcome to Elvenhood.
Mm-hmm.
Ascended. Now you get to live for like 900 years or something.
I thought they were immortal. Unless they were
No.
killed.
No. You're thinking pastrami. Because it's so heavily salted.
Now you think it's salami because salami is not bologna.
That's true. Salami is not bologna.
I thought I seriously thought you
there are
said
ones that are forever, but more common lore is that it's only an extended period of time,
Oh, so
sometimes
there
up to 1,000 years.
okay. Gotcha.
And there are many different types of elves.
Yes.
I mean,
Mm-hmm. I mean,
there's-
Santa's elves. That's a whole
Mhm.
different ballgame right there.
Yeah.
Than elves from like the Lord of the Rings. And
Right.
elves from
The Keebler
yeah,
family.
there's Keebler elves. Holy cow.
And the elves from like Irish elves, and then spirits that are called elves, and all sorts of weird things. Anyways, yep. Depends on your lore. So cool. Is everyone good? You wanna jump into this?
We
You
can.
wanna jump
I
into our
think
first
that'd be
topic?
great. Soleil needs to pick a number, 1 or 2. Pick your favorite number between 1 and 2.
Between those two numbers, which is your favorite number in the whole world? But only between those two.
What if it's 5, man? Oh.
2's closer to 5 than 1, and 2 looks more like a 5 than 1. And both are equal distance to 1.5.
What?
Yeah.
Equal
There's
distance.
math on screen. That's yeah. I would pick 194. It has a 1 in it. But 5 is odd, and so would it be. Okay, you got me there, Moonlit. Yeah. I mean, if you want to cast your arguments for 1, I'd go for it. Go for it. I have no opinion here.
We have an answer.
2, by the way.
Oh, it's 2? All right.
Mm-hmm.
We win.
Yeah.
We win.
2012. It's your cat's birth year, and it has both a 1 and 2 2s in it. Okay.
Ren, you want to pick the one about facial hair?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
How many facial hair do you have? 1 or 2?
1 or 2?
How many facial hair do you have? 1 or 2?
Oh, my.
Okay.
At least 1 and
at
2.
Least 1 and 2 put together, and then more.
Yes. At least.
Cool. So, let's dive into this. I have to refresh. And we're looking at Saule. This is Saule's. It is titled, What is Success? What is success? I guess we're going to try to take a stab at that. Obviously, that's a broad topic, so looking forward to see what comes out of our mouths.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll get our opinion at the least.
Oh my gosh, it's gonna be something. I'll tell you what. I can feel it. I can feel it.
I can feel it in my tenderloins.
Oh my.
Where are the tender parts? Wherever that is on the animal, I don't know. I just no idea what a loin is.
It's the back. It's like
it is the back.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not the dorsal, but it's still the back.
Yeah, it's like the lower back.
Mm-hmm. The lower back.
They call them back straps.
Back. Yeah. It's underneath the. It's a distance underneath the dorsal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A distance. A certain distance, depending on the animal.
Which shall not be named.
Depending on if you're using metric or the other.
Yep. Or box. Some measure.
Oh my God.
Yep, we are ready. Thanks, Princess. Go for it. Whenever you're ready, you can feel free to read it.
During the last topic on August 17th, 2022, Ryan said, "What is success?" So here's my topic. What is success?
Don't you
From
dare quote
Solway.
me. You've
Oh
quoted
wow.
me in such a way. Okay. Fantastic. What is success? This is a great question.
Uh-huh.
I mean, what is success to you will help you decide what you're gonna do with your time. As long as you want success with your time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think so. Overall, it's an important question because that ultimately leads to what you're doing with your life, because your life is made up of time, and you're spent doing something with it. What are you trying to achieve, right? Success in a short version of is reaching an achievement, um, achieving success. Those two, there's a what is success? That thing you're trying to achieve. Um, but I think that there can be a far deeper response to this. But I'm going to leave that up to the most magnificent and wonderful person here, aside from everybody else, not including me, and then also equal to the
Wait.
rest of you,
So Princess is
Joe.
going first?
No, no, no. She's equal to you, but you're. I was giving it to you, Joe.
Oh.
Who's the most magnificent
The
person
most
here,
magnificent. I was
and
like,
equal to everybody else, except for me. Who's less magnificent? Yeah, it was a really dumb sentence. So
wow.
let's not brood over it. You can have your time.
Oh my goodness. What is success? That that is a great question. And so like thank you very much for the topic. Thank you. You know what? Honestly, this is going to probably be a bit of a stumper. Because there's so many things
Yep.
you could say. I would really like to hear what the chat has to say, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Rin says success is the feeling you get when you achieve something nice and feel accomplished with yourself.
Mhm.
Princess has in the chat success, the achievement of something desired, planned, or attempted, attributed their success in business to hard work. So, yeah, success has something to do with achievement. It has something to do with that accomplishment feeling and everything like that. But, interestingly enough, I remember, oh, I was just reading another thing in our chat and I'm like, that's not success though. I don't think. All right. Sorry. My brain is weird, especially today. So, success is, yeah. Back to Ryan.
Are you serious? Hi, I am the staple for success. If you want to be successful, be just like me. Have you brushed your teeth today? Try Colgate, the number one brand for successful teeth brushing. I'm just kidding. I don't even use Colgate. I don't even know where that came from. I'm sorry. It's not sponsored. Um, wow. Thanks, Joe. For putting me on the
I'm
spot.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, it's your turn. I'm not gonna steal it.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. Success is it's an interesting thing. I remember when I was a kid, I was actually in a Sunday school class one time, and we started talking about success, and they wanted to hear what we as children, I can't remember, we were probably, I don't know, probably 10 or 12 years old or something at the time, and
Yeah.
they were getting our opinions about success. And a lot of people in the class, a lot of the kids were like, it's being rich, or it's being famous, or it's being all these different things, right? And
Being
those
successful.
can be successful. Those can be signs of success when, if that's what you're looking to achieve. And the thing that they wanted to drive home was that success can mean something different to everybody. Success could mean exactly what those kids were saying. Exactly. It could, hey, if you have a goal to be wealthy and you achieve that, then you're successful at that, right? So that's success. Or if you want to have a family and you achieve that, then you're successful there. You want to graduate from high school, graduate from college, you could be successful in doing that, but really it comes down to what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And when you accomplish that, then yes, that is success. But as far as labeling a person a success, that's an interesting ball of worms right there. Ball of worms. Ball of wax, can of worms. I'm mixing up my analogies. I'm really sorry, guys.
It's a can of balls.
Oh my gosh.
I wish, when you say something and it sounds fine in your head, and then you say it out loud and immediately regret it. Yep, that was that. That was that experience. I'm sorry, Joe. It's a can of balls right there. Cannonballs. That's what I said. Cannonballs.
That's
guys.
exactly what you said. My goodness. Good job. Well done.
I sure did, Holtz. Sorry.
Oh. Oh my goodness. Sauli, you never thought your topic would be so incredible, did you? Oh my gosh.
Inventing new phrases for this. What is success?
Yes. Well, anyway, good night, Rin, Hatsu. Great to have you on the show.
Yeah, good night.
And come back whenever. We would love to have you. Now I'm all off track.
Sorry about that.
It's all good. But here's the thing. I've achieved success in some things. I've not achieved success in other things. I've failed miserably in other things, and it's been crazy. And that's kind of what life is. Life is a series of successes and failures, and you move through things and you try your hardest, and sometimes you got to know when to quit. Sometimes you got to know when to stay. It's like the Kenny Rogers song, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them, whatever. Everybody's like, who is this guy? Like, who listens to Kenny Rogers? I don't know. People that I know listen to Kenny Rogers, and so I hear songs like that. Anyway, the thing that I think is most important is success doesn't determine your value. Because really, we live in this culture where, our value is tied to whether or not we are successful. And our culture has definitions of success. I know, for instance, that there are a lot of people that I know that consider professional athletes successful. And they are. They succeeded at being a professional athlete. But maybe other areas of their life are not all that successful. And, some people have succeeded in other ways, but our value is not determined by whether or not we succeed or fail at anything. And that's something that I really want to drive home, because that's something that I think all of us struggle with from time to time, myself included. We go through seasons where we feel like we're valuable, and we go through seasons like we feel like we're garbage, and we go through seasons, of just monotonous, like blah average, right? We go through these seasons, and a lot of times we can tie whether or not we're succeeding at something to our own intrinsic value. And that's a really, really unfair thing to do. It's unfair for us to label someone, and it's unfair for us to label ourselves. Because I know from reading and studying and prayer and listening to people that I respect, and I know this to be true, that we are all infinitely valuable. Every single one of us. We are all magnificent. Even Ryan. We are all equally magnificent.
Okay. Fine. You win.
Because you've told me that, Ryan. So I'm just going to, Hey, Ryan had this moment where he was kind of convicting me about some of this stuff at one point in time. I was in a real funk, and he's like, well, he kind of called me out because I'm an idealist and I believe the Bible. And he's like, well, this is what the Bible says. You trying to tell me the Bible's lying? I'm like, oh.
I didn't stick it to you hard though, man.
Fine.
I stuck it to you soft and sharp.
Soft and sharp.
Like a knife covered in butter.
Like a knife covered in butter. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yep. And I'm lactose intolerant. Thanks for covering the knife in
Sorry.
butter.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man. Like a knife made of Jello. Yes, thank you.
That sounds dangerous.
Yep. You do better to smack someone with that than stab them. But but anyway, Saule, what is success? Success is one of those nebulous things, and it really depends on you. It depends on what you're chasing after. It depends on what kind of thing you're holding on to. Maybe success in a certain area means to simply endure. Maybe that's success in an endeavor, because maybe you have an idea of how you want something to turn out or how you want something to be, and it just maybe it never happens. But success would be to endure through the hardship, through the pain, through whatever the challenges that come to you as a result of this, and learn what you need to learn as a result. I've had experiences like this in my personal life. I've had experiences like this in my professional life. I've had experiences where I learned, as I look back, I succeeded even though I failed in whatever that particular endeavor was. I endured. I stayed as long as I possibly could. I tried as hard as I possibly could. And through trying and staying, I learned things about myself. I learned things about other people. I learned things about the way the world works. And I learned that I can make a tremendous group of friends. And if I hadn't tried, if I hadn't gone through what I went through, if I hadn't failed, then things wouldn't be the way they are now. And I wouldn't know all the things I know. And so that's success. You can take any type of thing that happens to you and turn it into a success if you learn something from it. Maybe that's all you were supposed to get out of it. Maybe you try and build a business. You try really hard and you work and you work and you work and you sacrifice and you lose money and you lose sleep and all kinds of stuff, right? And it never quite gets off the ground. But through that, you learn principles, you gain friends. That's success. And so, I don't know. I hope that makes sense. I don't know if I have much else to say. So I think probably one of the best things I can do is give it back over to Ryan, because I'd really like to hear what he has to say. So, Ryan?
Well, thanks, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really like where you were going with that. It's interesting because Joe and I have a history of learning success principles. Joe even more so than I. But I used to listen to tons and tons and tons of talks about success principles, and Joe too. And so, success is loosely defined there. It was generally a success in business or a success in dealing with people, successful salesman or how to get money, sort of thing. But even stretching out to success in family life, success in your spiritual or faith life, success in finances outside of just running a business. There's so many different places that you could have success. I love that you just bring up Ecclesiastes. Uh, reminds me of the the whole section of the Bible where everything is vain, vanity of vanities, and even success on this earth can feel like vanity, because in the end, what are you doing? You're mounting a mass of what? For nothing. Like, you can amass amount of jewels and amass amount of gold, and for you just to die to leave it all behind, is a rather difficult point for some people. But I think a lot of times the point of those objects isn't the fact that you like those objects, but it's what those objects bring you. You can have success, and success might bring you some joy. And then you might get objects that you purchase, and then those purchased objects bring you joy. And that's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Even though it's like vanity of vanities, right? It's like, it's all vanity because at some point you just lose it all. But at the same time, a life well lived is well lived. I mean, there's nothing you can say against that. If you've done good in the world, you've planted seeds, you've sown great things into the world, then it's not actually in vain. And so success is an interesting thing because despite us learning all of these success principles, you go through life turning one page at a time. And you can set yourself up with goals to succeed at. But in the end, you have to kind of figure out whether or not success is, I don't know how to say this, like, well, one, whether it's good or not for you, because you can succeed in all sorts of bad kind of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to, does that make a successful person? By technicality, yeah, they were successful at doing bad things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even if you don't have successes, your life, like Joe said, is still valuable, and it's not vanity. It's filled with something maybe other people consider successes that you didn't set out to do, right? There are many things in your life where you're just turning it one page at a time and you're going through your struggles. I'll tell you, one of the roots of all success principles is one that Joe kind of said. There's a reason for everything. You know? He didn't say it like that, but that's essentially true. That's essentially what he was driving at. There's a reason for everything. And you can take whatever you're given, and make it a success. Because that's your aim. You can go through a hardship or a traumatic experience, but come out of that ahead. Come out of that making that a successful part of your life. We're often tested in our life in the areas that we need to improve the most. We're often going through things that help shape us and turn us into the best people we can be. But we have to go through those things. I think for me, a lot of times, and I think this is true for a lot of people, success is really just getting over that next hump of problems. Because a lot of times, again, we're just turning one page at a time. We're going over one hill at a time. We're just experiencing one struggle after another. And we can take those struggles and turn them into successes. Turn them into wisdom, which begets success. Turn them into beautiful moments of love. And take that suffering and turn it into something good. I think that itself is my gosh, beans are spiders or beans. How did this happen? Okay, anyways. Spiders are just beans. Thanks, Princess. That is true.
You can take easy for that.
Yeah, thanks. He knows what's going on. Oh, I see it. Yeah. One of spiders are just beans. Spiders are just beans. They are. So anyways, what is success? Is, you can make it anything. But here's the kicker. Here's the thing. People will say opinions are just opinions and they're not facts, so they don't really matter. But the truth of the fact is, opinions do matter, because you can have opinions that make your life a living poop place.
A living
You
poop
can
place.
have opinions that make your life horrible.
Mm-hmm.
You can have you can. And you can have opinions that make your life great. So success is just like that. You can have success that makes you feel good, and you can have success that makes you feel bad in the end. And even if success is subjective, I think that there's a reality in which success should be aligned with reality so that success is helpful to you and not detrimental.
Mm.
The one last thing on success that I can really say is success is not fulfilling. It's not. Success is a good thing. We want goals and we want to exceed at them and succeed at them. But success is not fulfilling. Success will give you an emotion for a time of achievement and joy. But the problem with success is that that emotion is not fulfillment. It doesn't last. And in fact, a lot of times, what you find is people who chase after specific types of success, namely those that are usually success in self, they have an achievement, they feel great, and the next day it's gone. So they make a new goal. They have success there. They feel great for about half a day, and it's gone. So they set a new goal, and they have success there. And they feel good about 12 minutes, and it's gone. And then they think, man, maybe my success just isn't hard enough. It's not high enough. It's not getting it for me. So maybe I'll try something harder. And they try something harder, way, 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 way harder, and they break, they break the ceiling and they succeed. And they find themselves happy for like 5 minutes or less.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it was super hard. And that might be depressing to some people. But I think it's important to say that the point of doing anything successfully shouldn't be the emotion, that ride, that thrill that you achieve at the end. Because that isn't fulfillment. That isn't the fulfilling part. If that's what you're after, you're going to be let down. Because that doesn't do really anyone any good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's built into us and into the mechanics of our brain that doesn't stop us from finding the good. Because if all we're doing is chasing after a feeling of success, our mind is set on the wrong thing.
Mm.
When we succeed in areas that mean something, really mean something in the world, you set aside the feelings. You set aside you set aside almost the entire objective of success. And you connect with the world. And it empowers you. And it strengthens you. And it beats you up.
Mm.
But it is something that you would never regret. Ever. It is something that you are so glad and happy you went down that road, even if it was painful. And it's not because you can consider yourself proud of yourself. It's not because you can consider yourself successful. It's because something deep inside of you was fulfilled, and something inside of you knows that that's what you were made to do. And it feels right. Success doesn't always feel right. As long as you're chasing after success in itself.
Mm-hmm.
So my point is, success is a good thing, but don't try to be successful just so you can put that title on yourself. That title disappears in seconds.
Mm-hmm.
The world goes on, no one cares. It's true. But that's not bad. That's to get us on the right course, on the right path.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it only lasts but a moment. Because we're not meant to live for but a single moment. We aren't meant to live our whole lives for one single success that we think is incredible and then get to and feel some kind of emotional high and then live out the rest of our 45 years going, I guess I'm just here, floating along, and I already did my one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that a good life is one that lives in the battle, one that lives in that romance, the tug of life that aims to do something with the moments you're given. And they can be big, but you know what? Usually they're small. And you don't notice the small things. You wouldn't call them successful, but as a great saint said, if you do if you do little things with great love, right? If you do little things with great love, it's really how you're going to feel most fulfilled in life. That's the life of fulfillment. It's not about those big achievements or appearing successful or getting that name or feeling that emotion. Really, it's simple as doing the little things with great love that makes you a happy person, that makes you feel proud of yourself, that makes you happy to be who you are. If you get caught up in some whirlwind of chasing after success and lose yourself in it, you come out the other side really not giving any love, not knowing who you are, where you went, not knowing what happened to the relationships you were a part of, and just it's gone. And you've lost it. But it doesn't mean it's over. Because the rest of your life is still there, and you're still just as valuable as you were before. But basically, my point is, success is good. Aim for it. But it's not all good. As in, it's not the essence of goodness. And it's not going to make you happy. It can give you pleasure. But really, joy, a life of joy, a life of meaning, a life of fulfillment, a life of love and understanding. It's living life and putting your love into the little things and letting the success and failure kind of just fall where it falls in all of it. Not pay too much attention to it. Just do your best that you can do with the time that you're given, you know? So anyways, that's where I went with it. I hope that that's helpful. Joe, did you have anything you want to add?
I think Princess has something she wants to add.
Yes? Okay, yeah. Go ahead,
And I would
Princess.
like to hear that.
Uh, well, I have a very, I guess, different relationship with success, I suppose. I mean, success, it- it's both big and small because what it is accomplishing an aim or a purpose. It isn't anything about what that purpose is. It isn't anything about anything else. All it is that you made an accomplishment of a aim or a purpose. So success is really what you make of it.
Well, sure.
It's
Mhm.
defined by your goals, as are failures. You know, you can say that failing is, oh, well, I didn't pick up the food in under 5 seconds, you know, or you could be like, well, I was maybe perhaps less successful because I picked it up in 10, but the real goal was that I picked it up off the floor so that nobody else would have to step on it.
Mm-hmm.
But the failure might be, well, I guess somebody stepped on it. And it's like, well, what's a new goal? Cleaning up after that mess. So, I mean,
Hmm.
success, it really depends on what is your aim and what is your purpose. And that's really what I would have you consider. What is the goal that you want to succeed in? What do you want to achieve? What will you do to get there? And what did you learn along the way? Because sometimes you set out and you have a goal out in the distance and you kind of get towards it, but you might never reach it. But if you look backwards, you actually see successes of other aims or goals that you could derive out of it. So, I mean, that's kind of my sense. Sally did say, is success slash failure a pass fail situation? Or could you be successful and not fail without being successful in achieving the goal? The interim before success is achieved, can you be successful during that time? Again, it actually depends on your goals. If you've set a goal far out in the distance and you look back, you could probably be like, hey, if I had looked at, I completed some other goal that I didn't realize I had at the time that I succeeded in doing. Or I guess I failed in the goal that I didn't even know that I had set. I mean, it's not really a pass fail situation. And sometimes there's also that time where it's like, well, is it a failure or is it just not a success yet? There's
Mm-hmm.
one quote of defeat is not the worst of failures. Not having tried is the true failure,
Mm-hmm.
which, take it with a grain of situation. But, you know, there are many times where you make a mistake and you call that a failure. But a mistake can be changed so that you reach success. So, I mean, is it really failure then if you failed once but you eventually succeeded?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a failure? Do you consider that a failure? And I think that's a personal perspective, you
Reminds
know?
me of Thomas Edison, I think it was, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
What's his quote?
Well, he
You
failed
could
like
look
a
it up.
1,000 times to
Make one light
succeed
bulb.
at the making the light bulb.
And when asked about it, he said, well, I succeeded in learning essentially 1,000 ways not to.
I have not failed 10,000 times. I have successfully found 10,000 ways that will not work.
Yeah, there you go.
So, at least that's kind of what I see it as. And another interesting quote I found is discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment.
Hmm.
Because what it takes to get a success is having that goal, seeing where that is, having the discipline to follow through to do what it takes to try and get there.
Mm-hmm.
Success sometimes is reaching your goal, and sometimes success is the journey that you've taken to reach as far as you can of said goal. And it's interesting because success and failure neither has to be necessarily good or bad. Because both are just one is accomplishing an aim or a purpose, and failure is not accomplishing, I guess, an aim or a purpose. But I mean, if you fail to do something bad, like, oh man, it was a real failure that I dropped the knife and it, hit the floor instead of my foot.
Mm.
No, I mean, there are good failures on that if you look at it from that perspective. It's a really weird example, but in that sense of you can have not done something, maybe not finish a degree or, you know, other things. And you didn't succeed in that goal. You failed in that goal, perhaps. But that didn't mean that that was what was for the best or anything about that. Maybe it was better that you had dropped out and instead you found something you were passionate about, or maybe it wasn't the time for you, or maybe it wasn't the thing for you. And you go back later and you get a degree and it's, what you actually were looking for, or, all sorts of different things. So, anyways, that's kind of my 2 cents on
Mm.
success.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll turn
Very
it back
nice.
over to the guys.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Princess.
Thank you, Princess.
Sure. Did you have
You're
anything you wanted
awesome.
to add? Mm-hmm.
Well, it's interesting because I love where you guys are coming from. Success is a lot about your perspective. How are you looking at it? Success is that discipline, like when you build that discipline, and actually every step in building the discipline is a success in and of itself.
Mhm.
Because when you're trying to do something to be more disciplined, you are taking those steps, and every step you take that is outside your comfort zone or beyond what you were doing before in order to build this discipline is a step in that right direction, and it's a success. And I love what Ryan was talking about too with the success. Achievement is really just momentary, and it's forgotten. It's glossed over, it's passed by. You achieve the success, and you have this moment, and it's wonderful, right? That moment feels really good,
Mhm.
but it's overrated.
Yep.
Because really, I mean, I know sometimes you ever hear that statement people are saying, like they're in the middle of their work day, and you say, hey, how's it going today? They're like, living the dream.
That's yep.
And it's usually said with a little bit of sarcasm or something.
Yes, always.
And uh, it struck me because, living your dream is really working in that arena of your chosen field, the chosen field of where you're trying to accomplish. That's living your dream, is when you're working at it, when you're trying. And sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it's super painful. But that can be success because you're there. You're there. You're in the middle of it. You're trying. Easy said success is that moment when you crest the hill with 100 pounds on your back, the heat bearing down on you, your rifle in one hand and your brother in another. Success is then when you never quit because it is
Mhm.
never an option. It never can be and never can be again. Quitting, I mean, there are times when you have to shift, when you have to readjust. But that doesn't mean you quit. That doesn't mean you stop. So, I don't know. That's pretty much all I had. So, Ryan, back to you.
Yeah. Awesome. There's a saying, I forget exactly how it goes, but essentially perseverance is the number one qualifier for successful individuals. If you look at successful people, generally speaking, the only thing that people can take away that's incredibly consistent, not always, but very consistent, is their success came from perseverance.
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, that's success talk. And I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole. But
Mm.
anyhow, been there and back many times. Anyhow, thank you so much, Saleh, for giving us the chance to talk on this topic. I hope that it was satisfying. I hope that it was informative. I don't know if it was, but I appreciate the question and allowing us to speak on it.
Mm-hmm.
I also look forward to. I really should have asked you this earlier, but to what you have to say about this. What is your definition of success, and what are the things that you can share about it that you have learned? But as I see that you are posting stuff, so thanks. You're awesome. Um, uh, Yogi Berra quotes. I see. Uh-huh. That's great. Um, so yeah, thank you so much, Sawale. You're amazing. We love you. And yeah, um, let's head on to the next one.
All right. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Um, let's do it.
Do the do. Do 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 do. Dun, 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 dun.
Sometimes he has to do product redesign. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it was fun to listen to everyone's thoughts on it. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Um, sometimes it's nice to just flesh out something as simple as a single word and talk about it for a while. It might not be something that someone's suffering through, but it can be something that guides someone on their path. And we are more than happy to be a part of that experience, and we want to be a part of that experience. We hope for all of you that you have a path filled with wisdom that leads you to joy and happiness and not so much suffering.
Mhm.
Looks like we got a topic here, though. Is this? I'm getting a nudge with a pointer without any words
A pointer.
that she would probably
A
type, but
pointer nudge.
is cool. I'm told to refresh, which I think already happened.
We're
Open
refreshing.
it again, anyways. Yeah. Okay. So I think this is the one she wants me to do. We've got one from an anonymous person. It's yeah, Vic, yes. Okay. It's titled "No Family to Turn to." No. I'm just kidding. I wanted to see her say no. All right. This is titled "Working Towards Improvement." Um, fantastic. Working towards
Fantastics.
improvement from anonymous. What's that?
Fantastics.
Yeah, fantastics. Yes. Whenever you are ready, go ahead and we'll do the topic.
There it is.
I'm not good at something I want to be good at. I've been practicing for a while, but I can never improve, and I can't see myself improving anytime soon. From Anonymous.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Interesting. I wish just a little bit I had more context as to what it was you were trying to improve at. Maybe it's something bad, but I have to assume it's something good. I'm sure there's, I'm sure there's plenty of things. I know it's something good. All right, I want to go with that. Obviously, you wouldn't post this, if you were struggling with something like I'm trying to get better at doing crime, but it's not working for me. I keep on getting caught. Ah, okay. Anyways, moving on. Yeah, this is annoying. This is annoying when you really want to get good at something, and you just keep on hitting a wall. And no matter how many times you run at the wall, it's not breaking. I know that I've been in this scenario. I've been in positions where the only reason I could ever do something like coding is because I'm willing to beat my head against the wall until I figure it out. And even though I don't actually figure it out all the way, I make something that works and it's really sloppy. And coders will look at it and go, wow, this was really poorly written. And I'm like, hey, I made it work. That's all that I cared about.
Mhm.
It's really creative if you want to give me that. And they're like, yeah, it's creative. All right. Jeez. Who on earth would do this? But anyways, um, yeah, but it's really frustrating when you're trying to learn. I know that, for example, like I've learned a bit of Japanese, but I haven't ever gotten to a point where I can say I'm fluent at all, like fluent. Um, and that's been a struggle because it's like I have to put so much effort in to learn a little bit and then forget it, and it's like, it feels like I'm getting nowhere. Um, and I can't improve. I can never make that. It's like I just want to turn that switch that goes, okay, now you know everything. Now you know how to speak the language, and it's just like it's not there. Um, and so it can be very frustrating. So I'm I'm hoping that Joe has also experienced this, so that he can share some advice with both of us.
Mm.
Um, and we can all improve together. So, Joe, take it away.
Man, oh man. It's going to be amazing. My brain is flying in like 14 different directions right now. It's awesome.
Ooh, I bet.
And I
Bet it's
apologize. But so you're not good at something that you want to be good at, and easy, you're hilarious. So I was trying to get better at larceny. Can Don't Worry Wednesday help me?
mm.
Probably not. I don't think we can help.
Have you tried flamethrower?
Have you tried
Have you tried
flamethrower?
Flammenwerfer? Have you tried
Pflaumenwaffe?
Zweieinhalb
Flamen
two-handed
Fluffen
flamethrower?
Fluffer?
Yeah.
Sniffnemer.
Yes. Schniffelmer. Yes, have you tried that?
Yeah, that thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um I understand. I understand what it's like
My flamethrower.
to practice and practice and practice and never feel yourself improve. I know. I've been there. But here's the thing, like a lot of times, you know, here's the thing, to get good, to master anything, it's been said takes 10,000 hours of application in that thing. You need to put in 10,000 hours of practice, of effort, of trying, of, getting better and better and better. And here's the thing. I don't know what it is, Anonymous, that you are looking to get better at. Some things you can become decent at in a fairly short time, but then to master it takes a long time. There are learning curves, different learning curves to everything. So it's interesting. I don't know. I remember starting to play drums when I was a little kid. I would try and set up boxes in the garage just because I really wanted to play the drums. I would set up boxes in my parents' garage, and I would go out to the trees outside the house, and I would find 2 sticks on the ground that looked like they might kind of match and be something, right? And then I would bang on these boxes, and I would just pound on them because it felt cool, right? There was a time I thought it might be cool to be a good dancer. I never practiced all that hard at that, and I never got all that good at it. But that's okay. I did get good at drumming, but that took a long time. It took a lot of hours, a lot of practice, a lot of time, and I had to take a path that I didn't expect. I had to learn how to play the piano, because that was a prerequisite for anyone who wanted to be a percussionist in the school that I was at. They were like, okay, if you want to play percussion, you need to have 2 years of piano. It was kind of a way of weeding out the people that weren't serious, because a lot of people want to play the drums. It's cool. Everybody like, hey, man, I get to beat on stuff. We get to stand in the back of the room and not do much. It's really cool, blah, blah, blah. And, but you have to, show that you're serious about it was really the thing. And they wanted to have people have a foundation, because there's more to playing percussion than just drums. There's all the mallet instruments. There's set up like a keyboard. So familiarity with the keyboard was really important. But I mean, I'm telling this story and you're probably saying, well, what does this have to do with what I'm trying to do? Maybe nothing. But there are some things that it takes a long time to get good at. And it might feel like you're not making any progress. But the truth is, to make progress in anything, the day-to-day grind of getting better at something, it really isn't all that glamorous. You watch a movie and you see this like montage of people training, like this, and it's this quick little couple minute blurb showing, all the sweat and stuff that they put in, and they're like doing push-ups or sit-ups or running or doing whatever and punching stuff, or who knows, right? Like they're doing this training. What's that?
You want to play the song for it?
Yeah, that's right. That's the one.
Yeah.
That is it. But, it doesn't work that way in real life. In real life, it would look boring. In Taekwondo, it didn't ever feel like I was getting better. Because they moved us along so slowly. The people who were training us moved us along so slowly that you didn't even realize you were getting better at it until you were like halfway to your black belt and you're like, oh my gosh, I can actually do this thing. Like this is weird. And now that I'm a black belt and I take all these skills, it's almost like I take them for granted, like the ability to pick my leg up and stand on one foot for a really long time and just do a whole bunch of kicks in the air and balance on that one foot, right? And I'll just stand there and I'll pick my knee up in the air. you know, and I'll just stand there. And my nephews, I'm like, okay, or maybe I'll extend my foot straight out, you know, and I'll just hold it there and balance on one foot, right? For a long time. And I'm like, and I was doing this with actually Ryan's nieces and nephews not too long ago. And they're like, try and stick their foot up in the air and they hold it for like, you know, a half a second. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's really hard. And I'm like, you know, but these are things that never would have happened without those little tiny incremental steps that happen. And it was just time and time and time and time again. So one of the things that I would encourage you to do, if you're struggling and you're having trouble learning something that you want to be good at, study someone who's already good at it. Or even see if you can get some training from someone who's already good at it. See if you can't find anybody to train you, maybe there's an instructional video, maybe there's something, you know, who knows. But to take the cues from someone, who's well along the path, farther along the path than you, someone who's already gotten there. They can give you so much insight, and it might not make sense. It's not supposed to, actually. Because in the beginning of any endeavor, we don't know anything. I don't know what to do. You know what? I'm going to screw it up. I had this experience just recently. You know, I hire a person to help me in a certain area of my life, pay them exorbitant amounts of money, and they give me specific instructions. And then I mindlessly don't follow their instructions. And I'm like, dang it. This is a person that I've paid a ton of money to help me with this thing, and I totally didn't follow their instructions. And now I feel bad about it, but at the same time, like, well, at least they still got paid, I guess. You know, like, so whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know. Understand that the process to getting where you want to be never, ever, ever looks like what you think it's going to look like. That process never has ever. I've learned a lot of things. I've taken time to learn a lot of things that took training over the course of years to get good at them. And it never once looked like I thought it was going to look. You know what? And going back to the success topic, a lot of people don't achieve success because it shows up in overalls and looks like work.
Mm-hmm.
It does. And you know what? You might work at it for a long time and be frustrated for a long time because you don't see any progress. But that's where having the perspective of someone who's farther down the road than you, they can show you, oh, actually, what you don't realize is that you did make a lot of progress in this area, and that was really good. So keep moving in that direction. Anybody who's self-taught in anything has watched, at least they have watched others who were successful in that area. I remember when I was a band instrument repair technician. I was an apprentice for a couple years before I became a technician and repaired, horns, saxophones, trumpets, trombones, all different band instruments, right? And I got really good at dent work and trombone slides and stuff like that. Those were kind of the things that I got really, really good at. But you know what's interesting is I didn't really learn much from my actual training. I learned a lot more by walking around and watching other technicians do their job. And then every once in a while I might ask, hey, why are you doing it like that? And they would explain. you know? Most of the time, someone who's good at something, if you ask, you know, how they're doing, that's how they do that thing or why they're doing that thing, you know, they'd be happy to explain it because it's something they take pride in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I would encourage you, at least watch somebody who's doing the thing that you want to be good at. And see if you can learn some of the little things that they're doing and adopt those. Ask questions. Think about why. Why might they be doing it that way? And hopefully that can set you back on the right track. And another thing that will do is when you see that happening, you start to reignite that fire in you, because as you get more and more frustrated, your fire starts to get dimmer and dimmer and dimmer, and you get frustrated and you get tired and you're like, oh, this isn't happening and I'm frustrated. You see someone who's made it, it's like, doggone it, they made it. I can do this too. So I'd encourage you, find somebody who's made it, watch them. If you can contact them, get in touch with them, ask them questions about how they did it, great. Most people who are successful, like I said before, most people who are successful in an area would love to help bring someone else to their level of success, or at least along the path. So don't hesitate to reach out. Anyway, that's what I have. Ryan, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
it's your
Thanks,
turn.
Joe. That was great. All right. Well, I'll give it my best. Yeah, I think that's great. As Joe was saying, and Celeb was saying as well, sometimes you don't notice how much you're improving because you're at your own level, and
Mm-hmm.
you've gotten to a position where it's hard to recognize the difference between improvement and not improvement because you are where you are. Um, and when you were new to it, you could easily see it because it was easily distinguishable. Like you're making giant leaps compared to what you have learned so far. But now suddenly, every movement seems like a baby step, in such that it's so small it looks like nothing, like you're retaining nothing, like you're earning nothing. And it's only that you're keeping things the same. But here's an interesting thing that happens when you're along that journey. If you have history of, like, maybe you've been in this position for a year and you look back, sometimes you can notice the differences. Like, wow, I really have improved um, since a year ago, as long as you've been doing it for about a year. Another thing that's interesting is you look at people who, like, are really talented at working certain jobs. For example, people who are doing roofs. Um, they have to nail in hammers or hammer in nails, right? So they take their nail, when they start off, they have their nail and their hammer and they tap it in and they go, cool, I got it. I actually didn't miss this time. I didn't hit my thumb because I've done that before. And they go, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, good. Now it's in. And then they go back to the nail box. They grab out the next one and they line it up. And then they go whack. And they're like, okay, good. Didn't hit my finger. All right, 1, 2, miss. 3, miss. 4, 5. All right. And then they keep on doing this, right? And so they can see their improvement over time because they stop missing as much. And eventually, out of nowhere, it seems, but really it's the process of doing this for years. They've developed this process where they just pick up the nail and the hammer at the same time into one hand, and they go bam with the side of the hammer and the nail. The side of the hammer pushes the nail in. Then they flip their hammer in the air and grab it by the handle and whack it once, and it's in. And it looks amazing. And the speed and precision of it is just like tile, tile, and it's just really fast. And they're just getting tiles up one after another, after another, after another. Whereas before it would take them like 5 minutes to do, like 5 tiles. Now in 5 minutes they can do like 100. And it's interesting because it's a lot in muscle memory. It's a lot in the small recordings that your subconscious mind is doing that you can't see. Because the thing is, when your subconscious mind is doing the recording, your conscious mind doesn't know about it. So you don't realize the places you're growing, because it's no longer in your conscious mind where you're growing. You're growing in very small hidden areas of your mind. So it makes it very difficult to see your improvement. I hope that makes sense. But that's generally the case. It's hard to get your conscious mind, frontal lobe, to talk to your subconscious mind. It's hard to get them to talk together so you can find out what you're learning. But when you're getting habits, when you're repeating the same thing over and over and really instilling those into your brain, it can be, it can be very, very difficult to notice those things. So just keep in mind, it's okay if you don't see progress. You're probably just working your subconscious mind, which is hard to think consciously about because you can't, it's not easy to extract things from your subconscious mind to really evaluate them until they come up, until something happens that pulls it out of your subconscious and into your conscience, which doesn't happen very often. It's usually some wild event. So don't worry about it. My point is just keep trying it, like Joe was saying. You probably can't see what's going on in the subconscious, but you are likely improving.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I want to talk about is the breakdown. There are many ways that we learn things, and sometimes it's through practice and repetition. Sometimes we have to reevaluate how we're practicing because we might be practicing in such a way that we are preventing ourselves from learning. We are learning a bad thing, like a bad habit, over and over. I know that when I was learning the saxophone, they taught us to practice in specific ways to avoid bad habits, so that we didn't learn bad habits into ourselves that would prevent us from furthering our education in music. So it was important to pay attention to how we're practicing. Not only that we're practicing, but the way in which we are practicing was really important. So they taught us ways to practice. So sometimes you have to reevaluate your practicing method and take a step back and look at it and go, is there a better way to practice? Ask yourself that question and then move on. Sometimes it's just a matter of trial and error of finding what that next way of practicing is going to help you improve the most until that is no longer needed and you can move on to the next step, right? So every once in a while, you're going to want to take a step back and identify and try to identify what is the better way to be practicing at this moment. All right. Lastly, sometimes it's, as I said, the breakdown. Sometimes we actually have to break down before we can lose, or we have to lose before we can win. Sometimes we have to break down before we can learn.
Mm-hmm.
You pay attention to life, you're going to find that, as we talked earlier, you learn through your struggles. But it's not always by embracing your struggles. Sometimes it's by being destroyed by your struggles
Mm-hmm.
and getting back up after it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's getting wiped out by your struggles, by whatever is getting you. Maybe it's an emotional breakdown, or maybe it's just a mental block where you just like, I just can't anymore. Sometimes it's taking a couple of weeks off and coming back with fresh eyes because you've allowed your brain to stop the repetition of the loop that's not progressing you and unlearn that loop and come back at it fresh and go, okay, now I have a fresh look at this without encountering that loop that's going on that's preventing me from actually learning anything. And it can be many things. I know sometimes in life, it's an ego thing. It's an ego thing. It's a pride thing, and you would never guess it. But sometimes that's what it is. We're stuck on a path because of our ego or our pride. we can't see what we're supposed to be seeing because we're too full of ourselves or too engaged with ourselves. It's not even necessarily like a selfishness. It could just be a self-centeredness where you're focused on yourself and you need to be focused elsewhere. There's so many great episodes of um, of a show called Hotel Nightmares with, and I really don't recommend necessarily watching it, but it's with Gordon Ramsay. And what he does is he walks into these hotel room or hotel places that are also like diners, and he can't get people to change. He can't get people to change their ways to understand, like, hey, you're failing your restaurant, and the reason is because of you. And people can't see it. And usually the way they get out of it is Gordon, like, comes in and forces them into a mental breakdown where they are forced into tears, where they're forced to come out with the fact that they give up, where they actually just give up and say, fine, I don't know the answer. And then, and only then, are they finally able to start seeing straight. Finally then are they able to listen to someone else's advice, or able to start to comprehend what they're actually dealing with. Because sometimes you got to get yourself out of the way and stop blinding yourself so you can see what you're actually dealing with in life. Sometimes that requires just a huge traumatic breakdown. And maybe you don't have to encounter that to get to that next step. But you might have to encounter that in light. You might have to encounter that in the light forms of that, where you have a breakdown to have a breakthrough. Right? Sometimes you need to break down to have a breakthrough. Sometimes that breakdown is an emotional process, and sometimes it's you meticulously going through your stuff and breaking it down on a chart and mapping everything out and saying, where am I going wrong? Let's break it down. Let's break the process down. So think about the breakdown in all of the different ways that breakdown can be used in this format. And I wish you success. I really hope you find your way through it and that you don't give up, because I know that it's frustrating when you try and you try and you try and it's like you're going nowhere. You're basically standing still, or sometimes you feel like you're just getting worse. So it's okay to have the breakdown. If that's necessary, break it down. Get back up. Come at it in a new way. You know, there's so many things I could talk about in this. I could apply this to love. I could apply this to finances. I could apply this to anywhere. But the breakdown is huge. And there's so much you don't understand until you go through the process of breaking down yourself, getting back up, working through it. And all of a sudden your mind is opened to something it could not see before. That is so applicable in so many areas in life. And that is applicable even in the growth of talent. Hopefully you don't have to reach that phase, but I'm going to tell you something. You're probably going to. If you really want to get good at something, at some point in your time of doing it, there's usually a breakdown that leads to a breakthrough. Not always, not for everybody, but for most of us. For most of us, yeah. Anyways, that's what I got. I hope that that's helpful and not just scary. But I want to tell you about it so that you can desire it and go, okay, let's embrace it. Let's go through it and be pumped up to go through that experience. So you can come out on the other side with knowledge and improvement. And I want you to be excited for it rather than dreading it, because that can change everything. Your attitude towards that moment can change everything about how you get through it, and your excitement levels to do so. So yeah, and the attitude while you're doing it. Every perception matters a lot, and so I want to give you the perception that it is a good thing and it's an enjoyable process if you allow it to be. Sometimes it's not so enjoyable. Depends on your scenario, but most of the time in the end, it's something you say is worth it. Um, and I'm sure you will. So if that's what you have to go through, that's what you have to go through. And I'm wishing you the best, and I hope you figure it out. Chad, do you have anything you want to add on to that?
I don't know. There's a lot of truth in what you were just expressing there. Yeah, Easy says sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to ascend to a higher pinnacle. It's only after you've lost everything that you're free to do anything.
Absolutely.
It's very interesting.
You hold on to so much.
What's that?
That's holding you back. You hold on to so much that really only holds you back.
We do. It's interesting to me because we to take it from a Christian perspective, biblical perspective. We're called to take up our cross and follow, right? To carry our cross. And you hear this expression about carrying your cross, and people, it's the cross they have to bear and all that kind of stuff, right? And yeah, and it's a challenge, and it's hard, and it's meant to signify that time of when it's really hard, that desert experience. You've heard of people succeeding in anything going through a desert experience where, it just doesn't seem like anything's happening. It just is blah, blah, and it's hard, and it's tedious, and yeah, exactly. It's terrible. But, like what Ryan was talking about there, it goes right along with the analogy of carrying a cross, because what is the cross? The cross is an instrument of death. You carry your own instrument of death, and eventually, what's the point of that? What's the point of carrying it? Eventually, you die upon it.
That's right. Dang straight. Good.
And that's when the breakdown happens. That's when the crazy happens. That's when the everything hits the fan, and just you fall apart, and you just, and explosions. Who knows? It gets crazy. But sometimes that's what it takes to get to the point of the resurrection. Sometimes you have to carry it, die upon it, give yourself to it, and feel like nothing's going to work. And in a way, you do give up. You just kind of like, okay. But then, on the other side of that is probably what you're looking for. So when it's tedious, when it's hard, when you're losing heart, when you're losing hope in what it is you're doing, I understand. I've been there. Many others have been there too. But sometimes it takes exactly what Ryan was talking about. It takes that breakdown to finally get to the point where you let go of all your preconceptions. You let go of all the things you think you know. You let go of all the things that you're inclined to believe, and you see it differently. And sometimes it's the exact opposite of what you thought it was. I'm still formulating a lot of this as I go. But it's crazy. The paradoxes that can happen in this type of stuff. It's amazing. So, I would like to encourage you, Anonymous, that yeah, it might be hard. It might be frustrating. It might be so difficult, and you might not see any progress whatsoever. But every step that you're taking is a step towards that achievement of what it is you want to be good at. Even if it doesn't feel like it. And it might be on the other side of just getting to the end of your rope. It's not a fun experience, but you know what? When it's necessary, it's necessary. And on the other side, you finally realize how necessary it was. So, anyway, that's all I had.
Yeah, gosh, that was beautiful, Joe. Absolutely. Wonderful analogy slash real reality. Um, yeah. Thank you, so much, Anonymous. I mean, I'm always honored that anyone would come to us for any kind of help ever. Um, and we really appreciate that you are asking us, of all people, how we might succeed in something that is very difficult, and feels like you're not making any effort, or making any headway with your efforts. Um, so yeah, thank you so much, Anonymous, and
Mhm.
we hope that is helpful and appreciate you sending in a topic. Um, awesome. Um, yeah, we have a half an hour, or yeah, about half an hour. Um, so why don't we do one more?
I think that sounds
You
like
guys
a
good
good
for it?
plan.
All right, awesome. Let's do it. Thank you
Do
guys in the
it.
chat. Easy. I love how you put into words my 20-minute talk into one sentence. No,
Not one to mince
I kid.
words there.
Obviously, I have to. I like to fill things out with circles of knowledge and wisdom. But yeah, um, as much as I can. So do we have one here?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So this one, Frednick. Fantastic. Frednick's awesome. This
Mm-hmm.
is titled "Staying Home All Day." Um, I'm interested to read what this has to say. So, whenever you guys are ready,
I'm
the
ready.
honors.
I'm an introvert and I don't like to leave my house. If there is an event that my family is going to and it doesn't interest me, I don't want to go and I try not to. My mom said that I need some sort of human interaction outside of my family. I figured that my job and church took care of my weekly interactions, but I think she, my mom, wants me to have more interactions. I don't see the problem of staying home all the time, but there is apparently a problem. What is the problem and why is it a problem? From Frednick.
Mm.
Nice. Fantastic. Yeah, this is a very interesting one. I think that's going to have a lot of different, a lot of different opinions. All we can do is give you our thoughts, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but because we can't say, for example, what your mom thinks, but we can give it a try. There obviously are benefits to leaving the house and talking with people. We are social creatures after all, and we have a natural way about us. Though we do have different personalities, and that's are going to be slightly different ways that we approach this topic. Um, at the same time, your mom might be of a personality that might not understand an introvert's, or she is an introvert and has experienced this and has something to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's definitely possibilities, even if it's not necessarily helpful to go out and meet someone, it can be problematic to not do so,
Mm.
where you build into yourself an inability to do well in social constructs. And social constructs make up all of society, from the bottom to the top. Uh, the world is run by people. So,
Mm-hmm.
lots of different angles we might give this one. I'm gonna do my best duties here and give it over to Joe and see what he's got to say about all of this.
Your duties.
Thanks, my duty.
Mm-hmm. Frednick, thank you so much for the topic. I really appreciate this one. I'm an introvert as well, and I would prefer to not be around a bunch of people all the time. But what Ryan said is very true. We are social creatures. We do, interaction is important. And, sometimes, who knows? Your mom, first of all, I want to say, honor your mom.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to your mom. Be kind and respectful to your mom. It's interesting. The older I get, the smarter my parents get. Which is a weird saying, but the truth of the matter is, when I was 17, I thought my parents were really dumb. I didn't think they knew much squat about much of anything, But the older I get, the more I realize that they knew a lot more than I gave them credit for. And I learned from them. And now it's interesting, now that I'm, older and experiencing things that they haven't gone through, they're learning from me as well. They can no longer say in a lot of situations like, this is how you should do it, this is how you would do it right, blah 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 blah, because they have not gone down these paths, so they don't know. And it's an interesting point to get to with your parents. But really, I do want to start with that, be respectful and be honorable and treat your mom well. She loves you. She wants what's best for you. And sometimes as parents, we don't always have the best way of expressing that, but we do. But so who knows? At this point, I don't know. I don't necessarily see a whole lot wrong with spending a lot of time, at your house and most of your interactions being online, who knows? Because, a lot of times the interactions that we have online they're just as real of people, on the other end of those interactions a lot of times as well. Now, sometimes people are pulling the wool over your eyes and they're acting a part, that's a risk we take sometimes in online friendships, where we
Happens in offline friendships too. So
yeah, that's true.
but it's
You're
slightly
right.
different because there's a physical form. But yeah,
Right. That's very true. But when we went through the pandemic and we were all kind of forced to be home, I think a lot of people, especially, extroverts, hated it. Hated it. I loved it.
yeah, made no difference to me.
Yep. I was like, hey, man, this is great. Like I get to have my, well, then it got harder, as different things happened with my kids and my family and stuff like that. Things got more difficult at that point. But, I really didn't mind staying home and not interacting with people. And when I did go out, I couldn't really go interact with people as much because we had to keep social distancing and all this kind of stuff, right? But I think for a lot of extroverts, that time took a lot out of them. And it was hard. I have friends of mine that are extroverts and they can't handle being alone. They have a hard time being by themselves. And there are times even as an introvert, that I don't want to be alone. I will say that. But generally, it's easier as an introvert to be alone. And it recharges your batteries to be alone as an introvert. We take that time and it re-energizes us. You know, being around lots of people is tiring to an introvert. Being out socially for extended periods of time is exhausting to an introvert. And Frednick, I don't know your mom's personality type. If she's extroverted, there's a chance, like Ryan was saying, that she just might not understand the perspective of an introvert. And for an extrovert, they recharge their batteries, they re-energize themselves around other people. And then when they're by themselves, it's tiring. And so maybe there's a perspective gap that's happening. Or maybe there's something deeper that your mom's noticing in you. And she feels like maybe it would be good for you to get around other people. Maybe this is just a thought that maybe this is an idea. Maybe she's like, you know, maybe you ought to try this and see if it helps. But it's interesting. Depends on the person. I will say I've known people who are what you would call it, set in their ways and of their own opinion and will not consider other people's opinions. I'm not saying your mom is like that, but I've known people. Easy.
That's great. Yeah. Oh, me.
But I would say, Easy, I don't know if that's necessarily you.
Might be a little different, my friend.
I think, well, okay. For instance, there are people that won't even consider someone else's perspective. They're just like, no, this is how you do it. This is the way it is. This is how it's done, and blah, 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 blah. That's it. And they won't consider the feelings of another person. And they come across like a hammer, and they just hammer you with their opinion. And it's fine. We love them. But the thing is that they will thrust their ideal upon you unapologetically. And so with someone like that, sometimes you just gotta nod and smile. Be like, okay, yeah, I can give that a shot. And who knows? But it seems to me, okay, so your mom says you need some sort of human interaction outside of your family. You figured your job and church took care of your weekly interactions. But your mom wants you to have more interactions. I don't know how old you are, Frednick. I don't remember if that came up in our DMs or not. But some parents really want to see their kids settle down, depending on what age they are. And they will push for, hey, there's a singles night over here, or hey, there's a this and that, and blah, 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 blah. And so they'll be like, hey, you know, maybe you could meet someone and settle down and da 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 da, and this and that. And okay, I can respect that. But in the end, Frednick, you know what's right for you. It's good to listen to your mom. It's good to honor her and to maybe take some of her suggestions and do it. Who knows? Maybe there's something that she's seeing that you're not seeing that you might benefit from doing that. And you can report back to her. And that might be all she really needs, just to see that you did it. You took her advice, you tried. And that might satisfy her, for lack of a better term. I just want to say nagging, but that's a terrible term. Her desire for you to go do that. So, anyway, I don't know. Before I get myself in more trouble, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan. So, Ryan, it's all
Sure.
yours.
Yeah. Honestly, I really like what you said. I think having a open attitude to say, you know what, I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a try. Is a big step up. And it's one that is very respectable and makes people respect you, and it helps you when you're trying to, out of respect, deny someone their request of you, especially a parent. So I'm not sure what they're seeking. What I would do if I were you is I'd go to mom and say, "Hey, mom, you remember that you told me to go, like, you want me to go, meet some people outside or outside of work, outside of, church and family and stuff." And she'll say, "Yeah." And you go, what exactly is it that you're looking for? Because I'm going to do it. Preface that, by the way. Say that you're going to do it. If you don't say that you're going to do it and you say, "What are you looking for?" or "Why do you want me to do that?" it's going to come off as you being, um, what's the word? Rebellious. And like you're trying to wean your way out of it, or question your way out of it. Um, Instead, if you come with the front, your first step is, "Hey, yeah, so you say, "Hey, you remember that thing that you said? I'm going to do that. I'm going to give it a shot, but I want to know exactly what you are expecting. Why you're asking me to do this, and what it is that my job and my church and etc. can't can't get me there, um, and why do you bring this up? Ask a few questions, and it's okay to do that. And if you give it with the prompt of, yeah, you agree to do it, you're going to put yourself in a position where she doesn't have to be afraid about what she says next when you ask. She can be honest, and you can see where that goes. At least it's more likely, and she won't be, um, yeah, she won't be put in a position where she feels like you're trying to get out of it or attack her ideas and her opinions or whatever. You put respect front and forward. You put the respect of your mom and say, "I'm going to do this because you asked, and I respect you, and I think that you're smart." You know, put that foot forward. You'll get the answers you're looking for, and you might find that those answers are really not applicable. And at that point, you can talk about it and try to find a reasonable agreement. Um, but I would keep right on your word that you try it at least once, and then let her know how the experience goes. Um, yeah, that's my quick response there. That's my best action. That I think that's the best action you can take from my personal point of view and experience of dealing with people, is to take that route. Um, just to really enhance the respect in the relationship with your mom. Let her know you're going to try it, and then ask why. That's a huge builder of relationship right there. That's going to do leaps and bounds above any other tactic of approaching this, to figure out also how to get out of it, but like why in general. Because any other angle that you come at it from is gonna look like disrespect to her. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what you don't want, because if you disrespect her, she's going to have a lack of respect for you, and you are not going to be able to get anywhere. And that relationship is going to be put in a position of holding rather than a position of growth. So there you go, Prednik. There's your game plan. If that's okay for me to make one for you, you can come up with one on your own if you think you if you think there's something better for you to do. Absolutely do that. I'm not gonna try to say definitely do this, but I want to give you that game plan as a starting point to think about, and then to execute whatever plan you think you can see fit is best from there. Next, I'm gonna say what Joe said is true. Personality matters a lot in this, and she might be just, coming at it from a different angle that is not really applicable to you. She might see you because you're not out and about, that maybe she thinks you're depressed or something, and she's trying to solve that issue, an issue that doesn't exist. Who knows? So it's definitely best to ask her.
Mm.
And really the best way to get through this is to do that. I would say that it's okay to socialize. As Saule put out there, sometimes even when it doesn't feel good, socializing and getting into that environment where it feels drained and you're not excited to be there can really teach you a lot about how to socialize. Sometimes it's when you're pushed to your limit that you really gain the ability to socialize better.
Mm.
Because those, again, just as we talked about in the last topic, are a lot of times those breaking moments that break you and then allow you to have a breakthrough. Sometimes you need to be what's the word, put to the ringer, and experience a situation where you're like, I don't have any more emotions left to give my kindness to this scenario. And then out of nowhere, you pull more kindness to apply to that scenario in that social environment. And what you discover is that you've just increased your kindness limit. You've just increased your tolerance of people. You've just increased in socializing because you were pushed to the limit and continued with care. Um, and maybe your mom wants that for you. Um, and I think that's great if she does. Um, I respect that a lot. Um, I was definitely pushed to my social limits a lot and had no breakthroughs until, you know, um, until just different environments came to me. And I was put in a different environment with different people, and all of a sudden I started making breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough. Sometimes you really do need a different environment to be able to grow in your ability to deal with people, to grow in your ability to love people, to grow in so many ways. Sometimes you really do just need a different environment with different people that is fresh. And so maybe she notices that in you and she wants that for you. Or maybe she's just hoping, maybe it's on a whim. Maybe she's just thinking like, that could do him some good. That's, something I went through and it did me a lot of good. And so she wants that for you. She wants that goodness. Maybe she's concerned for you. I think that it's very easy to be concerned for their child, for many other things, for many different reasons. But who's to say? Ultimately, again, you're gonna have to ask her. But my point of covering those things is to give you the right attitude when approaching your mom. To recognize very likely she cares about you. She wants the best of you. She has her own ways of doing things. Maybe it's different than yours. But to respect her and her wisdom and her experiences, and to be willing to at least try once to get those answers, and to have the experience and maybe even find yourself in that position that you're growing, is worth it. It's worth it. The worst case scenario, you go out, you have a bad time, you come home and it's done. And y- that's it. Um, Or maybe worst case scenario, that happens and then she sends you out again and it happens again and sends out again and it happens again and then you're done. You're like, no, not going back out. Tried that 3 times. We're done. Thanks. Sorry, mom. I respect you. I just think that it's got to be something different. I get what you're trying to do, but we're gonna have to take a different route to that. I'm pretty sure, so it might be something like that, but that's not that bad. What is that? That's 3 occasions of like maybe 2 hours. It's like that's okay. You've still got the rest of your life ahead of you. It's good. It's fine, and you can learn from those experiences even if they're bad. Um, and I think that you really can do that, Redneck, because you're a smart individual and you are, yeah, you're wise and you can totally do that. Um, as for me personally, I don't get lonely. I have a desire to give, a desire to be with people, but I never experienced loneliness really. Um, I never experienced that longing that some people feel of I need someone to be around me. I've never really gotten there. And that includes even not talking to people for like months and just being alone for months. I don't doesn't bother me. But I can tell you that I didn't get where I am today alone. And that's on a many accounts, spiritual level, but also on a relational level with the other people and human beings that I've been with over the many years. But I don't get where I don't get where I'm going in life alone. And there's so much that individuals have to offer. And because you're a person of God, Fredneck, I'm going to say this. There is God in those people out there. Because God is interacting with them. God is working through them. And it's okay to step outside of your comfort zone and experience those people and experiencing the God in them. Because you are called to do that. There was a amazing, amazing guy, Saint Anthony of
Padua.
Thank you. He was a hermit. He went to go live in the desert because he was an incredibly introverted introvert.
Mm-hmm.
And he was sick of all the people constantly just interacting with him in general. And he says, I do my best work alone. And he went off into the desert and he made his own little house slash hut in the middle of nowhere. And one day he gets a knock on his door. Some person. He takes him inside. He talks to him for a while. They're going through some crisis. He sends them on their way. A couple days later, another person comes. A couple days later, another person comes, and then suddenly he's getting lines of people waiting to come into his hut to talk to him about anything. Because they see him as this wise hermit that can really help them. And they want to extract his godliness from him and experience that saint of a person. The gift that he has to offer them and to share themselves with him and offer the gifts they have with him. That's beautiful, and you have that in you. And he's talking to God, and he's like, God, you serious right now? I moved out to the desert. And how do you respond? You sent all these people. Look, there's a whole line outside. Well, he had an important lesson to learn. And it's the very lesson of love. Love can be something from within and an experience that you have with God. But here's an important thing you might not realize. God didn't put us here alone. He didn't. He put us all here together to experience it together. And that's beautiful. It's the way that things are meant to be. And I recognize you're like, but I am together with all these people. Yeah, you are. I think that's awesome. Your church, your job, and your family. All that. A plus, man. A plus, especially for an introvert. A plus plus.
Plus,
Dude,
plus.
way to go. Plus plus. Maybe an S. All right. But maybe through your mom, you're being called to one extra step further. Get to rank S plus class. I don't know. But I'm gonna leave you off on that note. I'm gonna give it back over to Joe in case he's got anything he wants to wrap up with.
I want to give it to Princess. I think Princess has something to say here.
She's an extrovert, so yeah, that'll
Yeah,
be
so
an
I
interesting.
can't say that I can really connect on the same level that you guys have on that side of the coin. Um, but one aspect that I kind of got from reading this is that your mom said that I need some sort of human interaction outside of my family. And I figured that my job and church took care of my weekly interactions. And it's interesting because to me, I hear that, and I could be wrong, but I kind of hear that as like you have a weekly quota to fill of like, oh, well, I have my weekly interactions check marked. I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a very fair point. There's a lot to be said on that.
And I don't know that I have a tactful way of saying anything in particular about it because I don't know I'm in a position to, but I would just recognize that and ponder on that. Pondering about how you view human interactions with other people. And you'll listen back to what Ryan said because Ryan had some beautiful words on that. Um, the other thing is that it's possible if she's saying specifically human interactions outside of your family, because there are times in my family where we've been going to an event or we're going to do something together, and one family member's like, "Nope, I'm out. I'm not interested." And it was like, "Well, okay, you're just gonna go hang out in your office and do whatever on your own." Yep. Oh, okay. Well, we're not really building a connection here because you just are wandering off and doing your own thing. It can be that way where you're putting that distance between you and your family.
Mm.
Now, it doesn't seem to be the case if she's mentioning outside of the family, but there are times where, and it's totally natural to have other things that you want to do. And it's totally understandable to respect that. But at the same time, it's also important to go to some family events that your family is going to. Sometimes it's to support them, sometimes it's to show, hey, I care about you, and sometimes it's, hey, we're kind of having a family time. And it's good to be able to interact and connect with family time because it is very precious. The other thing is that if you don't like leaving your house, if you have friends, you could always invite them to your house
Mm. That's
if
a
that
thought.
helps solve the problem.
Mm.
you know, some part of this makes me think, and again, this is speculation, is that if she wants interactions outside of your family, that she's not seeing you interact with friends, and so she's possibly worried that you don't have that friendship connection.
Mhm.
That is very important, I think. We all have a need to have friends,
Mm-hmm.
Hate friends.
not just because,
Just
you
kidding.
know,
Of course you do.
Sorry.
and, and it's not just for company, but,
Mhm.
it's for having people to, bounce things off of, people to, you know, just be with, learn from, as Easy's been saying in the chat so much of, like it teaches social interaction, but there's also kind of a need all of us have to have company because we are social creatures.
Mhm.
We are made to have time with others. And we're made to have alone time too, because it's not, we are people, right? We are our own being contained within ourselves. We don't need somebody else to make us whole, which I think in our culture and day and age, sometimes that gets left out of like, oh, you're incomplete until you find the one.
Mm-hmm. And you
And
need to
it's
buy them
not
a
the case,
ring from our store.
Yeah.
because every kiss begins with K.
Yes, exactly.
But
Crest.
every
Nice.
kiss begins
Crest,
with crest.
right? Crest begins with K. Just kidding. I know it starts with C.
So I would
Okay.
say You don't see a problem with staying home all the time, but there apparently is a problem. Well, I think it's not necessarily that there might be a problem, but there is a potential for a problem.
Hmm.
Because there is a potential that there are needs that you have that you might not recognize are getting fulfilled, and your mom might notice it in your attitude, you know? I know
Hmm.
there's many times where when I didn't have many friends in my life or I didn't have anyone to have that with, then I acted very differently. At least noticeably so to my parents, and they could tell that I needed to have more of that for me to really be the best version of myself.
Hmm.
So, it's possible that it could be something like that too, where it's not bad to be in your house all the time because for your personality type, you're great. But rather than it being bad, it is good to have those interactions. And it's interesting because there's different interactions, you know? When you're at your job, you're working. So there's a certain type of interaction you're having.
Hmm.
Now, some of that's fun with, your coworkers, and part of that is you have a job to do. You have things to do. You have a way you have to act if it's something that's more customer service based. Hello, sir, how's today going? What can I get you? What would you like? Or, that's a very different interaction than, hey, how's it going? What's new with you?
Hmm.
And at church, it might also be centered more on faith, which is a good thing. But it also might be led in certain directions that doesn't allow the freedom of expressing things that might be on your heart. Now, if you're not someone who tends to share that sort of stuff, that's totally fair. But even so, there's goodness from being able to just share things, even if it's just random, like you come up with something of like, you know, the sky is purple, you know, because there's some amount of red probably there, right? We just don't see it. Or, just some sort of something that is gained from just interacting with others in a way that is free and not bound to church or job. Or at least that's, you know, just something I would think about.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's all I've got.
I know for me in particular that, work and church are not necessarily social activities, you
Yeah.
know?
Hmm.
I mean, a lot of times, when I was doing inspections work, I was totally not talking to anybody when I was at work unless I had to, you know? And when I go to church, I say what you say at mass and that's about it, you know?
Hmm.
The only thing that's different is like, okay, I might say peace be with you a few extra times because I make eye contact with a few extra people when we're looking around doing the sign of peace in the middle of the mass, right?
Yeah. If they don't know what the mass is, they're not gonna understand. But
Right.
essentially, yeah, it's not a social gathering. It is, but it isn't.
Right. Yeah, but I know
There's
a
not
lot
very
of
many
people.
conversations.
It's funny. A lot of times, and maybe it's like this at your church, Frednick, that maybe church is very social, and for some people it is, and quite frankly, it bothers me. If you've been to mass with me, you probably know this.
And you know why?
Because, before mass and after mass, I kneel and I pray.
Hmm.
And I spend time in silence with God and I pray. And when there's a whole bunch of social interaction going on all around me and people are being noisy and crazy and all kinds of stuff, and it's like, I mean, it's a nice day out. Can you go outside? Have this conversation? Like,
It's a blizzard out there right now. Yeah, I don't care.
it's
You can go
beautiful.
outside.
It's a
It's a
beautiful
beautiful
blizzard.
blizzard.
Like, go stand in
Hmm.
it and
Just close your eyes. Imagine whatever you want. I don't care. Can you?
Yep.
No.
But I can totally get behind what Princess was saying. And that is,
Hmm.
like maybe your mom's seeing something in you that you don't see in yourself because and this might be a key to helping resolve something that might be going on that you don't necessarily recognize yet, but she notices it in you. I've gotten a lot of people that tell me about how I'm different or changed or like how I'm acting or whatever, right? And it happens because I'm in me. I'm living my life. I don't necessarily see myself from the outside perspective. And sometimes somebody notices something in me and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like have you tried doing something different or have you tried this and blah 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 or whatever, because I might be totally oblivious. It's a blind spot to me. So maybe that's what's happening here. That's definitely a possibility. Not one to rule out. But Frednick, you're awesome. And yeah, hopefully some of that made sense. I'm gonna turn it back to Ryan now.
Yeah.
'Cause, yeah, Ryan's
Just one
awesome.
quick thing. When I was growing up, my mom every like week she'd be like, "Aren't you gonna invite your friends over? Come on, invite your friends over." I'm like, okay. She's like, if you're not gonna invite them over, then go over to their house. Like, I don't care, but you gotta hang with your friends. And she was that kind of mom, which was awesome. She would call my friends and invite them over for me a lot. I'm not even kidding. She's just like, you spend time with your friends on the weekend. I'm like, okay. Yeah. She's awesome. So
Yeah.
maybe it's just something like that. It could be that your mom just really wants you to enjoy yourself, and she's concerned that you're not having that time with friends. And if you don't, she wants you to get out of the house and do that, or yeah, something like that. But you can only know if you ask her and see what she has to say about it. But yeah, thank you so much, Fred and Nick. Thank you so much, everybody in the chat, for also giving your thoughts. And we appreciate everyone here. We love you guys, and we hope to see you guys next Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Perfect. You have completed a thought, Ryan. Good job.
Good
Thanks,
job,
Ryan.
man.
You're
Way to
awesome.
go. If
Oh,
you
thanks,
have
Ryan.
if
You're
you have a
awesome
topic, go
too.
to don'tworrywednesday.com at Princess Yellow in the chat and
That's right.
all that.
Uh-huh.
Hit us up on Discord.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay.
Oh my
Awesome.
goodness.
I love you guys. I'm tired apparently. It was fantastic being here with you. I love Don't Worry Wednesdays. I love being with you guys. Please come back next week and we can chill together and shed our worries together and make this life a better life and this world a better world. Bye-bye guys.
Love you guys.
Yeah.
See you next time.
See ya. Peace.